Welcome back to the channel, guys. Some of you probably know that I've recently moved house, and lo and behold, I found these curved trailing arms that I drew up over a year ago. So I thought, oh, a bit free today, let's see if we can make these happen and do the end of the video and have as complete as possible so we can test fit them in the car. So I did actually cut them out of 3mm instead of 2mm, and I changed them so that I could have gussets. I was a bit worried about how long they were and not being strong enough to take any side load, so I've cut gussets to make it easier to weld the top and the bottom on. So that's probably not a bad idea. And then I've only got one housing left after my last run of 25 engine mount, so we're going to have to take some hollow bar and machine it up to get some more housings. And then these are the leftover pieces that I've got from the workshop, 3/4 bright, that we'll have to cut the length, machine the ends, and then drill them out to size so they fit inside our housings. And once we get some more urethane bushes, we can piece it all together. But we'll get started with the easy stuff first. We'll dimple die the holes. For those of you that haven't seen dimple dies before, it's usually just a die. So there's a male piece and a female piece, and usually it's just of a set diameter, and it either has a chamfer or a fillet. These ones have chamfers with filleted edges and the corresponding shapes on the other side. And then when you press them together, it deforms the metal to create a flange on it, and that flange stiffens the side. So I've got this 5mm plate cut. What I found when I dimple die a lot of things is that if I don't use the plate, because of how short this flange is, it tends to bow the piece. So I need the flange to return the piece just straight. So we'll just get these ones going, and then because they're 3mm, we'll just dimple them one at a time. But I'll do a few and then I'll show you. It's simple as that. So that's pretty much the finished piece. Hasn't deflected too much in the side, so it's good work for the plate. But we'll just go through and do the rest of them, and then we'll move on to the next part. So there we have it, one finished piece, and it hasn't deformed very much, so it's still fairly flat. And now we can go do the rest of it and move on. So now that we dimpled all the side plates, the next job, which is probably the biggest job of the whole arm at the moment, is to make the housings for the urethane bush. So we've got some 40 by 10 hollow bar. So what that means is they guarantee that if you clean up the outside, you'll end up with a 40mm diameter, and if you clean up the inside, you'll end up with a 10mm diameter. So what we'll do is we'll face the end and clean up the outside just enough so we can turn it around and face the other end back to the length and have it square, and then we can start looking at boring out the inside and then finishing the edges. So we'll get that going. Now that we've finished facing all four back to the size, we're going to do the bore. 29mm ID that we're going to bring it out from 9. So just going to drill it with a 28mm drill bit, but to do that we'll have to turn the RPM right down and use the cooler. So it's going to get a bit splashy, but it's going to be the easiest way, I think. So give it a whirl. Sorry guys, but the battery went flat in the GoPro, so I managed to, after we drilled it, bore it out to 29 and then chamfer both edges. And then I've had to make up this DB, I would call it a jig, but it's probably just a setup tool. So it's out of a offcut of the hollow bar, machined it down so the housing slip over it, and then tapped it 3/4 UNF. So these are the bolts that I use on my caster rods, so I've got a few of them kicking around, so I decided to tap it to suit. Then because the shoulder on it, I had to make a fairly big spacer out of another piece of offcut. So now we're at the point where we've got to turn the OD down to 38.5, so we'll do that. I've just makes it heaps easy with this jig because you can hold it on the ID now that we got it to size, and then just run the tool over the outside, bring it down to size, and because it's all the same, it's just repetition. It goes quite quickly. So there we have it, our complete housing. So now I just got to do the rest of them, and then we can move on to fabricating this arm. Now that we've got our size dimple die and our housing's made, we'll start putting it together. And all I'm going to do is just get my magnet, sit it on the dimple dies, and just line this up with the holes and then tack it in. So something like this. Right, now that we got the sides and the gussets and the housings tacked in, we'll start work on the top. This one lines up with the gussets, yes. So we'll tack it where it lines up, both sides in the center. We'll just work our way down and tack it all the way down both sides, and then we'll do the bottom. So there we have it, one trailing arm fabricated. Now we just got to do the other one and then TIG weld together. So tried to keep outside corner along all four edges, and then we're going to butt weld back onto the stiffeners that are inside every two dimple holes, and that should make it nice and strong. And then we still got to do the pins, and I've got to get some more urethane bushes. So we'll fabricate the other one and then we can weld them both out. So I've pulled the stock trailing arm out of my R31. This is the driver's side one. You can see it has a bit of a twist on it. So it's had a pretty good whack. There's the big whack. So someone once upon a time decided to put urethane bushes in it, which was probably a good idea up until they went drifting in it, but it's rubbed on the ground here. This is at the front, and this is the one in the diff. So trying to fathom whether I can steal these pins and use them on mine, but this is the front bush, so it's another one that probably needs to be tacked in. Got a bit of clearance in there, but yeah, so we're hoping to fix all this up by putting the new arm in. So I didn't record TIG welding at all, but you can just imagine how long it would have been. But it's come up alright, I think. Got both of them done now. So unfortunately I'm using my engine mount pins, and these are the bushes that I use from engine mounts as well. The same material as Volvo truck suspensions, but I just get them moulded in a size that suits me. I've machined down the original pin from 64mm to 60mm to suit the same width as this. The idea of these pins are 13.5 and these are 12.5. Unfortunately, I don't have a 13.5mm drill bit on me at the moment, so I'm just going to put them in with M12 socketed cap screws, and then next bolt order I'll get a 13.5mm drill bit and pull it all back out and drill them up. But I've made a mistake with these as well, so just don't tell anyone. But because of how wide I do the flanges for my engine mounts, I've miscalculated, so I've got about 6mm. So 6mm recess on this side, with the pin being, might be about 7mm all up. So what I probably should have done is made the housing shorter, and you probably see it with all the welds. I could probably have taken 4mm off each side of the housing and still TIG welded it in, and then I wouldn't have to linish down these flanges on the bush to get it to fit inside the bracket in the car and inside the one on the diff. But anyway, what's done is done, so I'm just going to have to linish them down and then bolt them all in. We'll see how it goes for clearance and everything, and see what else we have to modify now that we have clearance in the trailing arms. Right, so we got it in the car now. Fits quite nicely. Yeah, so I'm just using socketed cap screws until I get the 13.5mm drill bit to drill the pins out, but it all goes in quite nicely, fitted in all the factory mounts. I did have to linish the flanges down on the urethane bush. Next time I'll just make the housing thinner, so I don't have to mess with the bush at all, just as it is how I receive them. But other than that, it all looks like it belongs. So it's got a lot of clearance now, it all fits in at the height that the car currently sits at. So I've just jacked up the diff housing to get the suspension to cycle through, and it's at the point where it's sort of trying to lift the car up, and we just sort of bump. So at the current super low height, it's probably a problem, but when I lift the car up to try and fix some of the geometry in the back, hopefully we end up with enough clearance that it doesn't bang on the chassis. So we're kind of touching here, but then when I let the suspension sag, it'll be fine. But I'm gonna try and build a traction bracket, hopefully something that bolts in with where I want to run the car. Even it's still a bit of a drama, so I need to sort of position this bottom pivot point at least 50mm further down. When you connect these two pivot points with an imaginary line, so it sort of goes back towards the back of the head, and similar with the top trailing arm, I'll look at making an adjustable part for the outside here to be able to adjust the pivot point on the diff itself, and try and see if I can get some more traction in the car that way. Lifting the car is my easiest solution, but then trying to change the geometry in the back is probably going to be my next big hassle. But you can sort of see some of the penetration that's come through with these plug welds on that stiffener, and then you can sort of see, where's this light? You can sort of see the penetration in these corner welds. So it's come out quite nice. It actually doesn't weigh as much as I thought it was going to weigh. It's fairly similar, I think, to the factory mount. I should put it on the scale and check it out for you guys, but pretty happy with it overall. Other than not foreseeing this, but I think we can get the handbrake cable through one of the dimples so that can keep working, and then we'll have to see what's the next low-hanging thing that's going to get taken off. Just out of curiosity, I thought I'd weigh the arms, so this is my scale from a post, so I have no idea how much I'm going to get charged to post things. Factory arm says it's 2.3 kilos. So we take that off and put the new arm on. See how we go. So the new arm's on. Says it's 2.7 kilos, only 0.4 kilos heavier. So that's not too bad, considering it's sort of a solution to a problem for me. It's actually worked out quite good. Thanks for watching. If you like what you've seen, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be attempting to either do the traction bracket or finish off this what's link soon. So if you're into your 31s, don't forget to subscribe so you can keep up to date with what silly things go on over here. But I'll catch you guys around.